Yeah, good evening, all of you. Thank you for coming tonight. We have a very special guest with us, Ji Liu, pianist. She is going to talk about creative programming. And today he's going to present one movement from his newest composition. And we are all intrigued how he can write such a long piece, 18-hour piece. He's going to talk more about this particular piece and how was that inspired, perhaps by Schubert piano sonatas, which was during that time was considered very, very long. But Jilu just finished this 18-hour from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. the next day. I cannot imagine how you perform such long music and how do you have that energy and for a listener to enjoy that performances. But we can't wait to hear from you, Jilu. So all of you, good evening and welcome back here. As you can see, Jilu is here with us. Hello, Swanto. Yeah, Linda, and all of you here have faithfully follow us every week, Sunday night, to learn together. So especially today, very special because we're going to talk about new music and also the relationship with Schubert. Because this year, although it's already past the 250th birthday of Beethoven, we still do it. And don't forget, Schubert is quite a fan of Beethoven, and he actually died just 1 year after Beethoven died. And he was very much in the shadow, living in the shadow of Beethoven. So, Ji, would you like to start and maybe say something about your new composition and the inspiration behind it before we start? You are going to perform for us live today, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I think, yeah, don't worry. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this very special session. And thank you, Christine, for arranging this special webinar for me, and especially for me to present my latest composition, the 2020 Human World Odyssey, as well as how I do creative programming on Schubert's music. Because I just want to start it with a little bit introduction to my piece, and then I will then try to connect it then to the topic today, which is the creative programming on Schubert's Sonata with new music. Because I think there's a lot of similarities between Schubert's music and new music that we write and play these days. And as a composer myself, through last year, which the live music performance has been significantly affected by the pandemic, I got the chance finally to aspire my dream as a composer, and then fulfilled a lot of unfinished thoughts about music, and then put them into the stave. So this 18-hour piece is actually one of my latest composition that inspired by the whole year of what I see of this world and what is happening around us. And actually the idea of writing this piece is there are several ideas and then come up. But the initial idea for me was through the last year, I just try to do a lot of music fragments when I got any inspirations and when I see anything on the news which touches me or anything that really popped into my mind, I just write it down in the staves as a sketch, like a music diary. And then after 10 months, and last October, I went back to China for some concerts. And although I take the direct flight from London to Shanghai, it was still quite a torture that I didn't take out of my mask on the flight, the whole flight, and I didn't drink it, didn't eat, just to protect myself, as opposed to as well as others. And then after I landed, there's a series of very rigid tests for us before we go to the quarantine. And then I saw a lot of key workers in the airport that they protect themselves totally, and I just imagined that how much they have been went through doing all these works. Because for me, just on the flight without taking the mask out for 12 hours has been a torture. And then I was very respectful to them. And then during the quarantine day, it's like they have become very supportive and very friendly to us, and which really touches me and make me think about how people like in the different field has contributed themselves into the society. And then I thought, as a musician, I have to do something as well. And then I was thinking, oh, maybe I should also try to do just do a physical test and see how much human being can endure in the in a physical test. And I thought that as a musician, I just can't go to the hospital and take care of patients. But instead of that, I thought maybe I should write a piece lasting 18 hours just to pay homage to all the people, no matter nationalities, no matter where they are, just to show my respect to them. And just as a pianist, I suppose this is the way I can do. So then I just come up with some ideas, and I talked to the venue, talked to the concert promoters. They have been very encouraging. So I just wrote the piece. So this is basically the idea of how it inspired me to write a piece. It's nothing like a gimmick or nothing like I want to break a Guinness World Record whatsoever. It's just a very emotional thing. So in this piece, I would say it's not really like a contemporary music that I write normally. Like it's not the atonal music, it's nothing really academic or scholarly. It's purely emotional, and there are, I mean, because it's an 18-hour piece, and there are like 841 pages. So through that, I suppose I have to find a structure within the piece. So basically, for the structure, it's a sonata form that I think every musician, when they lack of inspiration, we think about sonata form. So this is a start point. And then I was thinking about, because last year was the Beethoven year, and this year is the least 210 anniversary. And I was also preparing some Liszt music when I was writing this piece. So I used the Liszt B minor sonata as the role model. So this is also a one movement sonata, but with 12 movements, which represent the 12th month of the year. And then I suppose this is just for me to find myself where I am when I'm composing as well as playing. It's like a pinpoint that after a few hours, then there is some a section which is ended, and I start again. And I'm writing the piece for the 12 keys, which also represent the month, the 12th month, and that is the year that we went through. And I did the premiere of this concert on the December the 31st, and then ended on the January the 1st this year. So it's also a way of celebrating the new year. And then there's a passage that actually I got inspired only when I arrived in China. And actually, this is the passage that I want to play for you today, because I find this is the most appealing moment when I write the piece. And this is also actually quite related to the Schubert Sonata that I'm going to play with it. So, and I suppose I really want to play the whole piece for you guys, but I suppose it's an 18-hour piece, and it's a bit too long. And but at some point, I can do a live streaming just for you guys to play the whole thing. But this time it's a section of it, and the inspiration for this passage is actually is quite detailed and quite exact, because sometimes music can be quite abstractive, and actually most of the music that I write doesn't really have any special like a concrete idea or of element. But for this one, it's quite the inspiration is quite direct, because last November, after while I was trying to write this whole thing, I was in Wuhan, which is where the pandemic was first discovered last January into 2020. And it was the first place where the thing was broke. So, but it was like very well controlled already last April by then. And then I went to the Wuhan Conservatory of Music to give a master class as well as a recital where I did the least 12 transcendental etudes just to, because it's a heroic piece, and it was a heroic city where people was like fighting with a virus and they succeed. So I went, just popped into a gallery where they was exhibiting all the like medical facilities they were treating the patients while during the pandemic. And there was also like the stories on the wall where like also pictures where how like people, like really like the people experienced during this lockdown period since last January to March. It was a quite fascinating journey, and I saw like people, the contrast between the people nowadays there is like there's no restrictions and people are very healthily. It appealed to me so much. And then in the gallery there was a machine, like it was a machine which helped people's heart, you know, when they really had a breath problem and the heart starts. And then they use the machine to regenerate the heartbeat, I suppose. And then the machine has a special beeping sound. It's in the major third. It's a and the beeping sound, and the machine was there, and then there was a bed where I suppose the patient was there. And then there was also a ventilator doing that. And they just put that at the room exactly the same as when they treat the patients, and it gives me a shock. I mean a spiritual shock, because just imagine when someone was like really short of breath and hearing this quite tedious and irritating. And is this, I suppose it's like a sound of hope, or a sound of death, or a sound of hopeless? I don't know. But hearing this sound constantly while lacking of breath is quite a mixed like emotion, yeah, to me. And then I was thinking, why shouldn't I just put this motive, very short motive, into this piece? Because in the end, we should not only remember the heroic moment of what happened last year and how the like warmth, but we should also remember the suffering moments of individuals, of like the real life of people. And as musicians, I feel like a strong responsibility to record this kind of thing. And yeah, because I think music is a way of documenting emotions and moments. Yeah, so I put this section, the D minor and F major section, in the center of the piece. So after a long journey of arriving into a peak of the piece, and then this comes to this this passage. At first, it was just like the motif, and then later it develops into an elegy, a very sad and sorrow song. And then I developed into something like what always like new music composer starts with is momentum, like rhythm, because I actually the year before last year I was really like discovered music by Philip Glass, and before there was composers Frederick Rzewski, and both of them, I mean, use a lot of momentum rhythm and very simple patterns to drive the music. And this is actually a lot of minimalism music composers does in their music writing, composition writing. So later you will see. And And then the music becomes more complicated somehow, rhythmically speaking, as well as harmonically speaking. But then it develops into something rather simple and rather warm into the F major, because then I would like to drag Schubert in, because when I play Schubert's music, there are two things which, actually three things which really fascinated me. The first is the melody, because Schubert is such a wonderful melody writer, and as Chinese musicians, um, is there? Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, because I heard some sound. Anyway, I will stop. So the melody is Schubert is a great melody writer. He got so many like beautiful melodies that I suppose probably Beethoven isn't as great as as Schubert in terms of melody writing. And the second thing that fascinates me is the simplicity that in Schubert's music is the simple. It's the purity that really appeals me so much. And the third thing is that Schubert is like Brando said, he's a sleepwalker. He also always do the modulations and very strange modulations, and he always like do the journeys in between things, which actually made people sometimes think that his music is slightly lacking of structure and slightly lacking of coherency in his music. And actually that was this like topics was hugely criticized in the last 2 centuries, and like people always think Schubert's sonata is supposed to be too really long, like 45, 50 minutes, and then that's lacking of structure and lacking of tonality links. But then to me, these are all the fascinating things. Is a positive things to me. So when I'm writing my new music compositions, I always keeping this kind of points in mind, that actually I think, especially in this 18-hour piece, is I really would like to explore and prolong the small melodies and small movement, small motifs into a very, very long phrase. And which is what Schubert does a lot in his sonatas. But then I exaggerate it into the maximum. I sometimes one like very simple ideas can prolong for 10 or 15 minutes. And then suddenly when it changes, it really fulfills one's expectation and satisfactions. But then since I don't have the like really like the 18-hour time to explain this idea like very clearly, but I hope that from this little section that I play for you today, it will show some ideas of how this momentum patterns would work in music. Although like one can criticize that perhaps the composer is lacking of inspiration, that he just wants to repeat things. But different people got different ideas, and I will leave it the time to criticize. Then about creative programming, yeah, because my PhD project is actually based on creative programming with Schubert's unfinished piano sonatas, and by that I mean because for some of the unfinished pieces, one can't really perform them because it's just unfinished, and one just in the modern concert practice, we just can't perform a piece and leave it unfinished. Yeah. So in my project, my aim is to find ways to program and perform those unfinished pieces on concert platforms by programming with other like contemporary music to unnecessarily completing the piece, but completing them with other programs. So in the way, I don't really stop the piece when it finishes, when it is unfinished. Yeah. So I program other pieces and then link them directly, and with the pieces where they seem similarities in tonalities in textures, in in many different ways. So today I would like to do a case study with this kind of programming thing by programming a section from my piece and Schubert's, the first movement of Schubert's B flat major sonata. And I suppose maybe I speak too much and I will watch the time just in case. I mean, we can just talk about it later because for this B flat major sonata, I've been playing since I was 15 years old. And at that time, my professor always said, I'm too young to play the piece. But I was fascinated by the beauty of it. So I played, but then gradually from time to time, I come back to it and always I find new ideas. But one thing that always struggles me the most is actually how to start the piece, because the beginning is like a string quintet. Yeah, there's always 5 voices: the B flat, D, and B flat, F, and B, and always the first chord always got me froze, no matter how warm I was. So I always get this difficulties of how to start. And similar things also happens to me with Beethoven, late Beethoven sonatas. And also the similar things like Beethoven fourth piano concerto. Yeah, the chord, always how to balance them and how to put me into the right mood. And it's always challenges me. So I was thinking probably by doing some creative programming that really will help me to ease my inner tension before playing such pieces. Because in the end, I suppose it's still because I had a master class with Imogen Cooper many years ago about the Schubert sonatas, and she was really kind and did a lot of compliments about my playing. But still, I was asking her how to start the piece, and she said it beautifully that actually when playing Schubert sonata, we shouldn't think about time and about duration. We should, and it's just enter the eternity of something. Yeah. So, but how to enter the eternity always stuck me in my mind. And I find that actually by programming something else, which is got a similar mood to the piece and has also some similar tonality connections between the pieces, will really help me to start the piece in a more persuasive way, I would say, and more natural way and more organic way. And I think once we in that mood, everything becomes easier, I would say, both technically and musically. And I suppose it's also a way of familiarizing the piece with us, because sometimes when we think about Schubert's music, it's late Beethoven sonata, we always think, oh, it's the Bible or something. It's really religious, and we constantly we immediately create a barrier, I suppose, with the piece. It's something that we have to respect. But then with creative programming a piece, it's more it's more like recomposing it. And then we got very more close to the piece. And I suppose it's also a way that I practice things differently. Yeah, it's like a method. So maybe I would like to start the piece first and then see how we get on with it. And if the time allows, I can play something else with it. But I think, yeah, maybe we should start first and see how it goes. Yeah, how does it sound, Christine?
That's good. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it's a long piece. I need to find the clue. So this my own piece is about 30 minutes, I would say. Yeah, and then without stop, I will go directly into Schubert's sonata, which is about with a repeat. It's about 23 minutes. So the whole performance is about 50 minutes. So yeah, and then after that we can speak a little bit more. Thank you, everyone.
Bravo, what a warm, heartfelt performance. We can feel it from the beginning and how you transition from your piece into Schubert. It's seamless, to the harsh reality of that ventilator machine, and that motif that you brought was so intense, and then goes to this very peaceful, calm section, and then it transitions just seamlessly to this Schubert. That what you said before, yeah, when we play Schubert, we shouldn't think about the time. I
Mm.
feel like those, sleepwalking, and really, if you are not the time. There was a lot of motif that Schubert keep reusing through the modulation. We are very familiar with it. So it's in a way we can, the audience, I'm sure, if even if this is the first time, they can, they can listen to this quite easily. It's quite, but for those of you who have listened to this a lot more time, I guess it's easier to listen to than the first time. But I guess if you see all the motives that he's using, how you use that same motive in your own piece, some similarities and modulations and all that. Yeah.
Yes, yes, because I think Schubert's really is a pioneering composer that he inspires so many later composers. Just, I mean, yeah, he's like a precious well that we can always take water from it. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So what a great piece. And thank
yeah. And also, I think this trio is quite metaphoric, I would say. Yeah, it's a thundering sound, but then later it becomes really like, especially in the repeat section, becomes it's the only time that is fortissimo. Yeah, I think it goes quite nicely with my. Both of them are quite metaphoric, I would say. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a symbol of something, of
yeah,
a fate,
yeah,
or
it's modified. Even though it modulates and using the same motif, we don't feel it's repetitive. It's not, it doesn't seem like that.
mm,
It's easy to follow. And
yeah.
I don't think about time when I listen to this. So really listen to the connection, to the integrity of your new composition, and also the Schubert, which a lot of people think, I don't know, maybe as a pianist it's different than listening to it. When you are studying this piece, perhaps you felt like, oh yeah, all this, modulations in terms of memorizing, or, really digesting it. It might be a difficult journey, I think, for a pianist, but for a listener, uh, standpoint, I think we can hear it, quite the integrity in there. So
Yeah, yes, definitely. Yeah, I think as a composer, I think when I play my own music using like iPad, like I don't feel ashamed, but play other composers' music. Yeah, still I think with all the like the memory you said, I think it's also a learning process. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Although I think more and more pianists are using scores and being like a scholar pianist, and actually I also enjoy that side. But for me, I think I would prefer to play with memory where possible. Yeah, but with my own music, I think I'm a little bit like indulged to use music because I think also for 18 hours it's quite difficult.
oh yeah, yes, definitely, yeah. What a piece, You should tell us when you are playing this live, and maybe some of us who would like to listen to it as a whole, because I really like the idea. I didn't know what was the idea behind it. I think it's really honorable for you to think in terms of what the medical, all these nurses and doctors are doing in their own field, and what you as a pianist you're doing in terms of these, your contribution. I think it's such an honorable task for you to actually think about such piece, now that we understand why that length,
Yes, yes, because I think from since last year, I mean, with this pandemic, I think I also see music a little bit more differently, and because I think now I see it's more like a tool in the humanity world that it's a tool that we can find our own peaceful mind there, and it's I think I used to think music more and I'm more fascinated to its beauty and its beautiful sound, its the form. But now I think something higher than that. which I think is also gives me a lot of new insights about my future music making. And also it gives me new ideas about how I define myself as a musician. Because I see some of my colleagues are taking more responsibilities into the political side and make awareness to people's mind about what is happening around the world. But well, because as a Chinese musician lives in London, I see it more. I see the world more globally, and I don't really um, see much of the conflicts. But also, I want to bring mutual understanding in music, and that's why actually I put a lot of the Oriental themes and Oriental ideas behind my composition. And I hope that by using the westernized musical language, we can still bring culture and bring people together. And this is what I think much needed in this world.
Mm.
And yes, and I hope that after the pandemic, I can visit you guys in this year, which I haven't been there. Is Bali is in?
Bali, it's an island. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
one of many islands that we have. But
Yes, that is where I went, but I didn't go to the capital. So I mean, after this, yeah, we should definitely catch up probably in person. And yeah, and actually, I'm playing some more live concerts now in China, and hopefully since from this September in the UK as well. But next month, I'm going to play some live recitals, and I think if the web internet connections are good enough, I would really love to present those concerts as well to you guys on Zoom.
yes,
I'm going to do all the Chopin etudes. I mean, not all, but 24. I mean, because he wrote another 3 post things. So, but I will do 24 Chopin etudes, Opus 10, 25. I think that is on April the 9th and 10th. So 2 performances of that. And with that program, I'm also doing Beethoven Moonlight Sonata and Clair de Lune by Debussy. So it's a Moonlight with Chopin. So it's, yeah. So it's more like a commercial program with some academic.
yes, right. And you just did the transcendental etudes, the whole complete one was already passed?
Yes, I did it a few performances actually last November and December. And I find actually playing them all is easier than playing, say, a few of them. Because I only did 7 of them before, and 5 of them I learned it through my quarantine day
Oh, that was cool.
in Shanghai when I arrived. So then I completed the cycle. And then by then I only realized that actually Liszt paired those etudes with like a C major, A minor, F major, D minor, B flat major, G minor. So there's a tonal connections with each of the pieces. So I suppose that when he writes the whole thing, because he did 3 versions, by the final version, he did have a mind that it's supposed to be presented as a cycle. So musically speaking, it really encourages me to conquer all the technical challenges. So by playing them like in the one cycle, it feels much easier. And the later I play, the better I feel. So it doesn't feel that physical drain. Yeah, but for example, if I play several of them, I feel quite difficult, really.
Okay, yeah, that was really awesome of how you program most of your concert and you tie in. Do you play Liszt Transcendental Etudes with other pieces as well? Like,
Let me think. No, actually, no, for the Liszt Transcendental, I only play them as a 1-hour recital nonstop.
okay.
Yeah, but I really want to do one time, like the first half Liszt Transcendental 12 etudes, second half Chopin 24 etudes. But I don't know how that will go.
But a lot of energy to do all that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It keeps me like my fingers more disciplined, and yeah.
It'll also give you motivation to practice, especially during this time, right? when.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that was great, catching up with you. And you actually mentioned something about Schubert's Unfinished Sonata. Instead of you completing it, you would actually stop where he wrote the last note, because there are a lot of pianists who attempted to finish it, completed it. Did you try to do that? Because since you're also a composer, what is your thought on that?
Well, no, I didn't. No, because there is some passage completion, actually quite a number of them. But then I'm thinking, if it's unfinished, then I probably would just better leave it unfinished, unless it's like really like it has a better like very clear clue of how it should goes. And then of course, because like for example Martino, like Tirimo and also Badura Skoda and both other like musicians, they have already completed some like the ones with like the sonata formula. So I don't really want to tackle like more things on that. And to complete them in a different form, yes, I did write my second piano sonata, which is based on one of Schubert's unfinished piano sonatas, but it's not like the how Schubert intended to write it, then I completed. So it's inspired by Schubert. So it's more like a rework or reimagined version of Schubert. So yeah, I think that way is more interesting to me as a composer, because when I'm writing my thesis, I always question myself, what is like a finished work? What is unfinished? And the definition of unfinishedness in art world is quite obscure one. And however, because even some of the finished works, for example, Schubert's unfinished, I mean, his last piano sonatas, I find that I always find it's not like a finished work, but it opens to something new. So yeah, for some of the unfinished works, although in terms of sonata form, it might not finish, but it gives people the satisfaction of emotionally when it's stopped there. And I think it's sometimes they leave it blank. It's even more powerful, especially if some of the silence in Schubert's work is the most touching moments. So I would rather keep that form and then program something new and enjoy that silence and the interruption, which is quite interesting to me.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear different opinions on Schubert's unfinished sonatas. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing with us. Maybe any of the audience, if you want to ask, any of you have any question to ask G about anything that he just composed, and maybe where to get the music of this really monumental piece, you could ask G, and he has a website, personal website, and it's being published already. The music score, right? You mentioned.
Yes. Yeah, it's available. I mean, hopefully one day after the album, the piece will be released, then hopefully we will produce some hard copies. But at the moment, it's only available for the digital version, and it's available on my publisher's website. If one Google Master Music Publications, you can find my work and some other very wonderful musicians' work. For example, Nicola McCarthy, the left-handed pianist, he did some wonderful transcriptions for left-hand music. Yeah, and other like pianists' work, pianist composers' work, and also from other like instrumentals for other instruments. Yeah, and I also wrote some smaller works too, not only the 18-hour pieces, but for example, like my own etude. Which I wrote for one of my pianist friends who did his final recital at the Trinity Conservatoire. And it's like a 4-minute work, which is quite nice to play, I think. Yeah, and it is sight readable. Yeah, most of my pieces are sight readable. Yeah, so yeah, just in case I know you would like to do some new music.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing beautiful music with us.
Thank
And
you.
so much for sharing also the premiere of your new piece. We are so honored to have you play for us and on Zoom.
Great pleasure.
Yeah. So any of you want to ask anything, you may do so through the chat box, or you may talk directly to G. If not, you can catch up with G. He has an Instagram. You can follow him, and he has personal website. I think he has a mailing list too, so you can get updated of his next upcoming concerts and release of his new album. I think this 18-hour piece that most people are very intrigued by. Yeah, congratulations again on such one. Okay, thank you all for coming. I guess you all are no questions and they're quite satisfied. It's such a nice way to end our day with such beautiful music. And so I will see you guys in next month. I will keep you updated on our next event. Yeah. So I think next event, I think we have, let's see, is Johannes still here? I mean, he's Johannes. Yeah, Dr. Johannes Nugroho.
Yes, I'm here.
He's professor of piano at UPH University of Pelita Harapan. He is going to have a seminar on Bach Busoni. Yeah.
Yes.
I invite you to join his seminar. It's going to be usually the last Tuesday of the month. So would you like to tell them a little bit about your upcoming webinar? Oh yeah, there he is. I can see you now.
Hi, Christine. Hi, Julio. Nice to meet you. Great playing. Very sensitive playing and great work too. Hi, everyone. So yeah, at the end of this month, Bach Busoni time, and I will be accompanied by Dr. Mario Santoso as well. He will explain about what is the genre, the chaconne, the background, the historical, and then the applications of the transcriptions process in the Bach Busoni chaconne. And I will talk about the kaleidoscopic aspect. That's, it's the colorful things that I can guess to that kaleidoscopic colors and how the colors like transform from one color and then patterns. So same thing that happens in the Bach Busoni, the Bach chaconne that's transcribed for piano by Busoni. Thanks, Christian, for having me introduce this.
Thank you all. Yeah, this is how we spend our COVID pandemic on the Zoom, and we actually listen to you live. Actually, the sound is, we can hear it. Although, of course, it would be nice to listen to you live, but that's the best we could do.
Someday.
Yeah. So it's been quite long since we attended the live concert. So it's so different to have someone like live on the Zoom. So we have both, and we also talk about music. We perform music. So music's still going on, even though during this very hard time, we can't go out and socialize like usual. So thank you for coming. Don't forget to attend our next, which is also this month by Johannes, and you will update me on the date. So I send you the information on it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for learning together today. And thank you, G, for coming. Such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, congratulations on everything you do, and keep us updated. And when you're gonna talk to us again about your new music, you're welcome to. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. So bye-bye now and see you next time. Good evening.
Thank you. 谢谢，拜拜。
谢谢，拜拜。